Sarah Boone was married to her husband Brian for 13 and a half years and had a 10-year-old son together when they decided to split. It was a rough time for Sarah, and when she decided to move on, she left her house and went across the street to a bar. And that's when she met Jorge Torres.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you tonight here on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for joining us. What a big day on your front row seat to justice. We've got this huge trial involving Sarah Boone, the Suitcase Murder Trial. And today was the day. Today was the day for Sarah Boone. She took the stand in her own defense. But let's begin here. Jorge Torres, the man in the suitcase, this man was tortured. This was an excruciating death that he knew was coming. And he couldn't do anything about it. He's trapped inside this suitcase. He cannot open it. He's begging for his life. The air is running out. And he dies, knowing that there's someone there who could save him, but wasn't. That's what happened to Jorge Torres in his final moments as a living being on this earth. Now, bad fact for the defense that she did not let him out. That's the suitcase. That's from her video that she recorded while she's taunting him and he's begging for his life. There's nothing coming from him indicating any threat. Just a plea to please let me out. I cannot breathe. A man looking to be saved by someone who can save him very easily. But she didn't let him out. And that could be an insurmountable fact, insurmountable bad fact for this defendant in this trial. Because everyone in that courtroom, especially the ones in the box, the jurors, they know, they've seen the video. They know that she could have saved him. And she chose not to. They know that he was begging for his life. They've seen it and heard it. It's not someone saying what happened. It's actually watching what happened firsthand. No room for interpretation by a third party. Direct evidence of what was happening in the moments that Jorge Torres was beginning to panic and was suffering inside of the suitcase. Now, Sarah Boone took the stand, and she's saying, I'm the victim here. I'm the victim in this case. It's self-defense. It's battered woman syndrome. It's a relationship that is toxic. It's a relationship that, yes, is violent. And she's up there, and the story that she is telling, that she is trying to sell to this jury, is that she is the actual victim, not the man locked in the suitcase, not the man begging for his life, not the man who died, but she is the victim. Not an easy story to sell under the circumstances because that video exists. If she told a story like she did today about threats and fear and everything else without a video, then the jury's got to wonder, well, what's going on here? But the jury doesn't have to wonder because they saw and heard it for themselves. And what she's saying is that what happened in the video is not really what was happening. Like what happened after the video is completely different, the exact opposite of what you see in the video. You see in the video, she's in control, she's taunting him. He's begging for his life. But she says once the video's done, he's threatening her. The man who needs her to unzip that suitcase is the one who's threatening to take her life. That's her story. So the question is, will the jury believe her? Will the jury believe it's reasonable? Will 1, 2, or maybe all of them believe that story. There is violence in the relationship, no doubt. There is no doubt that there's violence in the relationship, and there's a history. Both of them have gotten arrested in the past. But in that moment, that night, in the apartment, will they believe the story that the man who's locked in the suitcase, who needs her to unlock the suitcase, is the one saying, I am going to kill you. You end tonight. You will die. Now let me out of the suitcase. Is that what happened? That's what she's saying happened here. The one person in the world that could save George Torres was the one person in the world that he was threatening to kill that night while he's inside the suitcase, needing her to open it up. So how did this whole night start, right? Like this has been the question from the beginning. Like, why and how is George Torres inside the suitcase that night? Well, Sarah Boone told us her version of what happened that night, what they were doing, and how George ended up in the suitcase.
Would it be fair to say that y'all were intoxicated?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened.
At one point, I guess he knew that I couldn't come up with anything else, tapped me on my knee and said, "You're it." So from there, I ran up the stairs and hid into our shower, just waiting for him to find me so we could hopefully go to sleep soon at some point.
Did you believe that he was going to come try to find you?
Yes.
Did you wait?
Yes, for quite some time.
All right, then what did you decide to do?
That I decided that I need to go to sleep. I'm picking my son up the next day, and we need to start wrapping up the evening. And I went downstairs to find where he was. I looked over and I saw him settling himself in the suitcase. I said, oh man, we're obviously not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. And I walked over and he was trying to get himself flat, so I couldn't tell that he was in there.
He was able to get in the suitcase on his own.
Yes.
Did he willingly get in the suitcase?
He was already in there.
Okay. When you got to him, did he see you?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what happened.
I mean, I zipped him up. We thought it was funny, and we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
Well, she's saying it all started as a big old joke. Let's go now to Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, who was inside the courtroom today, joins us live from my old stomping grounds in Orange County, Florida tonight. Kelly, great to see you. What a day, what a huge day. So let's go through the story right now. So after it's the big joke, he's getting in there, ha, 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 he fits. What did Sarah Boone say happened next?
Well, hey there, Vinnie. Next, she said that she began videotaping him. So she used her cell phone, got it out, and started recording him while he was inside that suitcase. And why did she say that she recorded it? Well, she wanted to eventually show this to him so then he could realize how much he hurts her when he, for instance, beats her like she was talking about continuously on the stand today. Why don't we go ahead and listen to a bit of her testimony that she's describing taking this video.
That's when I went over and decided to videotape to just see the, I guess, the jest in it for him to understand that right now I feel safe and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to do.
And you were intoxicated.
Yes.
And you would agree that you said some things you should not have.
Yes.
All right. But you realized he could not get out and get at you. Is that fair?
At that moment, yes.
And then Sarah continued her testimony, saying that between the first video and the second video, that time in between is when George started threatening her. And then that's when she grabbed the baseball bat and tried to put and hit him a little bit on the fingers, because his hand was sticking out of that suitcase. So she wanted his hands to go back in there again, because she is saying that she is fearful for her life. So let's listen to what she had to say next.
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
No, at all.
Were you trying to kill him?
Never.
Did you want to kill him?
I did not.
Did you walk upstairs?
I did, yes.
Why didn't you let him out before you walked upstairs? Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
And Vinnie, I was talking with some people that were inside that courtroom after. They just kind of felt that, she really didn't have much emotion when she was talking about this. She was really expressing how much she loved George, but when she was talking about this particular incident, really no emotion at that time. So we'll have to see how the jurors end up reacting to it.
Zero emotion from her. It didn't exist. And, I don't know what she was like before all of this, but from my perspective, doesn't play well in the courtroom. Like, if this is the man you loved and he died and it's because of you, but you didn't really want him to die, there'd be some level of acknowledgement. I understand you're on trial for second-degree murder, but some acknowledgement of, oh my goodness, I can't believe this happened. But we didn't really get that from her. And just to be clear here, I just want to make this really clear, because I think this is very significant. There's 2 recordings on video, and in either one of those videos, are there any threatening words coming from George Torres, or is she saying all the threatening words are when the camera's not rolling?
Yes, exactly, Vinnie. That's what she is saying. And in his opening statements, defense counsel said it's that time in between that is key to this case. And so that's when Sarah is explaining to the jurors, it was during that time when I wasn't recording, that's when he was making all of these threats to me. And in regard to her personality on the stand, we talked with someone earlier, Vinnie, that shared kind of a dorm-style custody holding cell with her. And she said Sarah Boone is extremely subdued, kind of like an elementary school teacher, doesn't really have much reaction to things at all. So it was an interesting perspective to hear from that woman. Yeah,
but unfortunately, it's not going to help her in front of the jury, because they're not going to have any deeper understanding necessarily of her. Now, let's talk about the domestic violence, because this is a big part of the defense case. This is really the foundation for it, is what's going on in this relationship. So there was maybe a lot of testimony about domestic violence in times where George Torres is allegedly getting violent.
A lot of testimony about this, Vinnie, and at one point Sarah Boone got up and was showing jurors a scar that she still had from a time that George Torres had stabbed her. And at that point, the jurors all got up from their seats and took a look, and you could really see the scar. You could even see the scar all the way in the back of the courtroom. It was that pronounced. Let's listen to some of her testimony regarding that domestic violence.
If George was able to, he would drink from sunup to sundown.
Is there times when he would get to a state of intoxication where he would get violent against you?
Quite often. This was the first time that I ever called 911. George and I had gone to a bar across the street within walking distance, and at some point I asked a guy, or he asked me, somehow or another, it was over a cigarette. And he left, and I didn't know where he went, and the bartender said, oh, he left. He took your car and he left. I walked home, and he's sitting on the back porch with the handle of vodka. He calls me a whore, and then he calls me a slut, and then he calls me a and gets up and pushes me. And he pushed me with both of his hands so hard that we have this little area where our washer and dryer is, and there are metal doors that are on it. And he pushed me into the metal door. And then I fell back, and he got his knees on top of me, on my arms here, so I was pinned down, and was starting to strangle me and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over and over it again, and calling me a whore, and you're such a slut, and you, and everything. And my tongue was flopping out of my mouth, and I thought I was going to bite my tongue off. And because of the amount of noise, I guess, my head was making on the metal door, he slid me down and got back on me, and then started to strangle me again. And it was on, we have carpet, but it's like concrete. And I was able to get my arms out from underneath and grab his throat and get him off of me. So I got him off of me, and I pushed him off, and he came up and he goes, "You," and he stomped my face.
Was that the next day, or is that a few days later?
That's a couple of days later.
And that's the bruising from the kicking in the eye?
Yes.
Yeah, that particular photo, Vinnie, behind me sitting in the courtroom, some people were just kind of very surprised when they saw that particular photo of her black eye, saying they've never seen a black eye that looked like that. It was the jurors during all of these photos that were put up, every time there was an incident of domestic violence mentioned and they put up a photo, they were documenting it. Every single time that a new photo came up, that she talked about another incident, they were taking copious notes, so they were definitely keeping track of all of these past incidents.
Yeah, that's significant for the defense, because once that door was opened by the judge, this becomes fair game and becomes very relevant for the jury trying to figure out what happened that night, what is in her mind, why is her mind in that sort of mode when George is in the suitcase, potentially, and then you start talking about the history of domestic violence and what she's been through and what they've been through as a couple. Okay, let's get to the moment that prosecutors rarely get, seem to be getting it more and more these days though, is an opportunity to cross-examine the defendant, cross-examine the accused. How did that go today?
Well, I think the state really made some points, especially, we're going to play it too for our viewers. The last point, the last question the state was able to ask her on cross-examination. But one of the most, big moments that took place inside the courtroom today is when they asked Sarah Boone to come down and kind of demonstrate for the jurors just the positioning of George Torres inside the suitcase. At that point, most of the people that were sitting inside the courtroom got up, as well as the jurors, because they wanted to see how she was going to describe how George was inside this suitcase. Let's go ahead and play that.
Ms. Boone, can you demonstrate for the jury where Mr. Torres' head was and how his body was positioned in the suitcase, if you don't mind?
His back was this way and his head was here.
All right, and then is it fair to say his feet are kind of down here, which would be the front left corner from their perspective in the jury box?
Yes.
And then his knees are kind of tucked up towards his face.
If I remember correctly, yes, that's the position.
When you say that was zipped shut, show us.
Are you talking about how I zipped it, or?
When you're done zipping it shut and he's inside of it, where are the zipper components?
Just tell me where it's at.
I mean, it was the corner. I mean, the corner was
right here?
open. I mean, it's not. Yes, this one was already pretty much. Yes. From what I can remember, that's how he was coming with his hand out. It was like this from the corner part.
And at the point in time when you left and went upstairs, he was still inside the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
Was he still asking for you and calling your name?
Not that I can recall.
Did you say shh to him again?
I don't remember.
Did you tell him that this was his problem and it's on you again?
I don't remember.
Did you do anything to help him escape from the predicament that you zipped him up in?
No.
No other questions?
And you see there, Vinnie, that's when the state just ended its cross-examination. Did you do anything to help him? And she very clearly said no. I mean, she was honest. She didn't do anything to help him then.
Kelly Craft down in Orlando tonight. Great to see you, Kelly. And a big day tomorrow as this trial's wrapping up pretty quickly. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank, get their reaction to today's testimony, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, it's the biggest day in the biggest trial in the nation. Sarah Boone takes the stand in the Suitcase Murder Trial, and we take a closer look at her testimony with our body language experts.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage weekdays, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
I want you all to know that the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
That's Sarah Boone's story. Always afraid, always scared of George Torres. And that's what her defense is that she's a battered spouse, a battered partner, whatever you want to call her. And in the moment that she made the decision to not let him out of that suitcase that night, she was in fear of George Torres and what he would do if he got out. Take a listen, because the jury, and you have seen it as well, the videos. In the videos, George Torres is begging for his life and she's taunting him. Here in this part of her testimony, she's describing what happened in the 11 minutes between the two videos that she recorded. And there's nowhere on any video of George Torres threatening her. Apparently that only happens when the camera's not rolling.
So between the 2-minute video and the 22-second video is an 11-minute period. Would you tell the jury what happened?
We continued to, I guess, speak to one another, and his tone changed, and I knew the tone, and we ended up, I guess, arguing back and forth with one another, and it was the things that he was saying very much frightened me, and cursing at me and threatening me. And
did he want you to let him out of the suitcase?
I'm sure so.
Okay, go ahead, tell the jury.
And it just got very heated very quickly, and he continued to push on the suitcase. And my fear was that he was going to break out of the suitcase, knowing that it was a broken suitcase. And his hand started to come through. His hand started to come through this way. And so I shook the suitcase. Trying to get his hand to go back in, shaking it, and telling him that, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this to me. Please stop doing this to me.
So his hand actually got out of the suitcase?
Yes.
And you went to the suitcase?
Yes.
And shook it?
Yes.
Did that force his hand to go back in?
No.
So you're shaking it. Were you shaking it to try to get the suitcase, his hand back in?
Yes.
How long did you shake it?
I don't know.
But his hand was still out?
Yes.
Was he trying to get out?
Forcefully, yes.
Was he angry at you?
Yes.
Were you in fear?
Always.
If he would have gotten out of the suitcase, what would he have done to you?
Like he used to tell me, he probably would have made me unrecognizable, or I would have lost my life.
Was his hand still out of the suitcase?
Yes.
And was he getting out of the suitcase?
He very much was trying, yes.
And so what did you do?
For the split-second reaction that I had, I happened to see that, and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
Wait, did you hit the outside part of his hand?
Yes.
We've seen the photographs of his left hand. Did you cause the bruising there?
I'm guessing yes.
This is a self-defense case. She's in fear of her life, for her life, of a man locked in a suitcase that she is hitting with a baseball bat. That's her story. Let's bring in tonight's think tank. Joining me, trial attorney, fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers out there in Seattle, Washington, Ann Bremner. Also with us, trial attorney, former police lieutenant in the state of Florida, where all this is happening, but not a neighbor of Sarah Boone. Rick King is with us. And Deputy Public Defender for Los Angeles County in California on the left coast, Philip Dubé. Great to see everyone. Ann Bremner, this is a very unusual self-defense case.
Yeah.
The man who she's fearing is locked in the suitcase, and she's hitting him with a baseball bat. Is that a tough sell?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Vinnie, I mean, a really tough sell. How many lawyers has she gone through before she actually came to this trial?
This is number 9. Number 9. He was
okay.
watching our show. He saw that Sarah Boone was charged with murder, did not have a lawyer, nobody was coming forward, and James Owens stepped in. Good guy, James Owens.
I remember that show, and bless his heart, but it's a tough sell, and I wonder if all of his other lawyers told her you can't even testify. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound truthful, and it probably isn't. And plus, it's not imminent fear, you know, with the battered women syndrome. I mean, it's not, nothing's imminent when she's hitting him with a baseball bat and he's stuck in the suitcase. Yeah. So, I mean, on all fronts, it fails.
Rick King, is this like a self-defense? Is she standing her ground? What is she doing?
I think she's beating a man in a suitcase with a bat. You know, the thing for me is, like, if you're in that suitcase and you're trying to get out and you can't breathe, I think you start out with the threats. Let me out of this suitcase, and then you end up with the pleading. I don't think it goes the other way. You don't start out pleading and then come back to threatening. Pleading is the last thing. That's your last resort. Please let me out of this bag. You know what I mean? Because you start out with, I'm angry and I want to get out. And if you don't let me out of this bag, I just think they got it reversed. And that whole 11 minutes of this is when it took place, that's tough for me.
It's very convenient. It's very convenient when the camera's not rolling. Philip Dubé, before you answer, I want to give you some more ammunition. Here she is talking about, and this is real, like this is a toxic relationship. It's a violent relationship. Here she is describing getting stabbed in the leg by George.
He told me again that I'm not going anywhere, and he stabbed me in my leg, and it crunched. You could hear a noise that it made, and blood just started to come out of my leg just like a fountain. He got on his knees and begged me, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. And inevitably, he went and got my car keys and put them around his neck again, and my cell phone. So I was not able to call anyone, and I wasn't able to leave in my car.
How did you get to the hospital?
Originally, he told me to drive, and because of the amount of alcohol that he drank, and I couldn't. So he got into the driver's seat and drove me, and the entire time he's barking at me to make sure that I get the story straight. We're sword fighting, okay? We were drunk, you know. Did you go being silly? Yes.
All right, and did you get treated there?
Yes.
And is this you at the hospital?
Yes.
Is this the stab wound you want?
Yes. My foot.
Is this a close-up of the stab wound?
Yes.
What was that? Did you hurt your foot?
No, due to the injury, I had other problems with the surgery.
All right, Philip Dubé, the door's been open for all this testimony about the allegations of domestic violence, you know, with photographic evidence here. How does that impact everything? Does that give her any chance to garner some sympathy from one or more of these jurors?
Absolutely it does, and it helps form the basis of an expert's opinion that she fits the profile, the paragon of the battered intimate partner. As long as she can show that it was really prolonged, protracted over a lengthy period of time, as opposed to, you know, just a one-off or an occasional push, an occasional shove or a slap, then the jury can actually find that her actions were objectively reasonable under the circumstances. The sad thing about many victims of domestic violence, and specifically battered woman syndrome, is that oftentimes, even though they're living in it, they're oblivious to their condition. They don't even know what to call it. You know, it's like somebody living with mental illness for the first time. They don't even know they're bipolar. They don't know they're schizophrenic. They have symptoms. And she is exhibiting symptoms of being a battered intimate partner. And now hopefully a good expert can explain all the symptoms associated with that. And she testified to her subjective belief in the need to use this type of force. And the expert will explain to the jury why her actions, because the abuse was going on over time, were objectively reasonable. And it's a tough sell because I think her actions lack proportionality on that day. So for example, had he done something to her or made a threat that he was going to do that to her, it would logically flow from that she would want to do something to kind of stem that blow, to stem that tide. But nothing led up to that. Right. And there's an old adage in criminal law, we say over time people change their story and the lies keep mounting, and it's not matching with what she told the police during those video recorded statements. So it's going to be a tough sell.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, Sarah Boone answers a question that a lot of us are wondering. Why did she make the video?
The suitcase had, from me moving it around, was flopped over. So while it was like that, I thought at that point I had a moment to, I guess, take the time to talk to him while I guess he was not able to get out for a moment. And that's when I went over and decided to videotape to just see the, I guess, the gist in it for him to understand that right now I feel safe and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to.
One little problem I have with that, and that's that she didn't remember making the video. Like she had no idea it existed when she was talking to police. And now she can explain articulately how the reason why she made it, the video that she didn't know she made. It's interesting the way her recollection she's found it all of a sudden. So, of course, this is all about the video that is the biggest, most incriminating piece of evidence in this case. You hear the victim and you hear the defendant. I'm going to give you a warning. Again, it's not easy to watch, but let's take a look.
Sarah. For everything you've done to me. Sarah. For everything you've done to me. Sarah. You. Sarah. You. Sarah. Stupid. Sarah. That's my name. Don't wear it up. Sarah. I can't breathe, babe. Seriously. Yeah, that's when you do and you choke me. Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
That's on you.
Sarah.
Real or ransom. Might want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real or ransom.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you drink on me.
Sarah.
You.
Breathe, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut the up.
Sarah.
All right, Rick King, I mean, the setup for this is that these are things I couldn't normally say to you, like, bleep, stupid, that's on you, that's my name, don't wear it out, bleep the bleep bleep, bleep you. It doesn't really match. It's not like she's like saying things to her. She's just really trying to humiliate him.
It really doesn't, and that's kind of my problem with it. And even when she was describing what she was doing, what she said was, I guess it was kind of in the jest. So the jest to me doesn't relate back to I'm fearful. It relates back to I'm humiliating you. I am now going to impose my will on you. And it's not the fear that I think that she needs to try to portray, or that she's trying to portray to the jury for an effort for her defense. I think this plays out poorly for her in front of the jury, and it doesn't. And again, I would say a guy in that bag doesn't go from Sarah, I can't breathe, to to threats.
Philip Dubé, it's opposite world, right? On the one hand, the video that we and the jury are seeing and hearing has her as the aggressor. He is the one who is clearly the victim, and she's the one in control of the situation, and aggressive, not nice. He's pleading for his life. But what she described on the stand is, well, when the camera's not rolling, it's the other way around.
Yeah, and she's changing her story over time as she thinks of better lies. You know, it's so convenient to try to build in stuff that was not captured on that video, but clearly she had the upper hand over him. It kind of reminds me of, Vinnie, do you remember a movie from the 50s called A Bad Seed? It was about a 10-year-old girl who was just like a serial killer, and she lost a penmanship competition at school, and the boy who won was swimming in a river, and he was trying to get out, and she took her cleated shoes and kept whacking his hands, hitting them so he couldn't get out, and the boy drowned. You know, and that's what you have. You have a man who's trying to get out of a suitcase after she's gained the upper hand, and she's whacking him with a baseball bat, not because she's fearful, it's because she's vengeful. And there's a difference between being in imminent fear of bodily harm or death and just avenging your anger for the years or the months of
yeah, it's like revenge time.
Strife.
Revenge of the Boone. But yeah. Philip, I had that movie in my queue on Netflix, but now with the spoiler alert, I'm not going to watch it. Ann Bremner. And this is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence, you know, that we've ever seen. And trying to explain it and overcome it just doesn't work, because to me at least, it's not matching with what she's trying to describe was happening that night.
Yeah, watching that, I was thinking it's revenge, it's punishment. You know, I guess like The Bad Seed, I actually really like that movie. You should see it anyway, even if you feel it's a spoiler. But it is like that, like Philip said. That one piece of evidence, the prosecutor could just stand up, play it, and sit down. Like the George Floyd tape. Remember, we also have the tape. They didn't even need the rest of the trial. It's so powerful. There's no way around it. There's no way he changed his tune or his cadence or the length of what he was saying. Because he can't even breathe in what he's saying. You can tell when he's talking and he's saying, "Let me out, I can't breathe." Those are really short pleas. He's not even breathing at that point. And she sounds drunk. And she's just goading him and punishing him. You know, and basically it's like that country western song, you know, you should have thought about this when you were cheating. You know, that's what she's saying.
Absolutely.
You're getting punished.
Rick King, two things. Is there anything in Florida law where the inebriation can help her? And number two, should I be in fear of this Central Florida jury? Because I've been burned before in that same courthouse.
So first and foremost, the intoxication defense is not going to help her. She's self-intoxicated. There's nothing she can do with that. The Central Florida jury, I think they're going to get this. I just don't. And you know, Vinny, for me, if I see there's a way, I'm gonna tell you, I don't see it in this case.
All right, great job tonight as always, Ann Bremner, Rick King, Philip Dubé. Thank you so much. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates the Suitcase Murder Trial, Sarah Boone takes the stand, and we continue our in-depth coverage with a breakdown of her body language. Does her story make any sense?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
What happened that night? Are you not prepared to take responsibility for any of your crimes?
Interview with a Killer, a Court TV original series. Sunday, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look. It's the Delphi Murders Trial. One of the biggest true crime mysteries for years. Now, Richard Allen on trial for the murder of two young girls, Libby and Abby, best friends out in Indiana. Cameras banned from the courtroom, but Barbara McDonald, Court TV senior producer, is there on the ground, has the latest for us tonight.
Good evening, Vinnie. Day 4 is all about the digital examination of Liberty German's cell phone found at the crime scene underneath the body of Abigail Williams. The jury got to see an enhanced version of that video taken by Libby, showing a man following her and Abby on the Monon High Bridge, taken on her iPhone 6S at 2:13 p.m. Reporters who were in court as it played say you could hear Libby say, "See, this is the path. There's no path. We have to go down here." And after that, the man says, "Guys." And it sounds like Abby says, "Hi." Then the man says, "Down the hill." The reporters who were in the room did not hear the word gun spoken by either of the victims. We're also now hearing from the witnesses who saw the man that day before he encountered Abby and Libby. Rayleigh Voorhees testified the man she saw was taller than her. She's 5'7". Richard Allen is reportedly 5'4" or 5'5". In Delphi, Indiana, I'm Barbara McDonald.
We'll stay on top of that story as things develop in that trial. In the meantime, we have a missing child tonight who needs your help. Take a close look. This is Kira Lynn Trujillo, missing since October 17th from Pala, California. 16 years old. This is how it works. Take a look at her face. If you see her, make the call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the San Diego County Sheriff's Office out in California. That phone number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Kira Lynn to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. More of Sarah Boone on the witness stand. We'll bring in our body language experts. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.